Hi, crafties, and welcome to Weekend Crafting Adventures. I'm Kim, and in this week's crafting project, I have taken some infusible ink transfer sheets, created a fun little spring summer design, and put it onto a blank smart watch band. So let me tell you about the inspiration behind this crafting project. I have really only ever used the silicone watch bands that came with my smartwatch, and I bought a bunch of different colors so I could do different colors when I'm wearing my smartwatch. But I decided that I wanted to go with a different style watch band than the silicone watch band. And as I was looking around for different options and different ideas, I thought to myself, I should just make myself my own fun little design, put it on a watch band, and make my own. And so that's what I did. And the other part of this project, because this was such a fast and pretty easy project to do with the infusible ink transfer sheets, I actually had some extra time to create some beaded bracelets that are accents to my new smart watch band that I created with the infusible ink. And that was really fun too. Right now, I seem to be picking up all of these different beads. Every time I'm in a craft store and I see them on sale, I'm getting the clearance beads, I'm getting the sale beads, and I definitely have started to gather quite the collection of beads. And so I thought, what a fun little way to accent my new watch band, but to create a couple of different beaded bracelets to wear with the watch band. This is kind of like a 2 craft projects in 1 episode kind of week. So let me tell you a little bit about the materials that I needed in order to create this watch band above and beyond the typical things that I have in my crafting corner. And the first thing obviously would be the Sublimation blank smart watch band. And I got mine on Amazon. Was about $10, but totally reasonable. And I did get the size large. That's just my own personal preference. And let's see, the other thing, of course, I needed would be the infusible ink transfer sheets. And I wanted to do a really simple black and white daisy design with a little pop of color in the center of the daisies. I wanted to keep it simple, but crisp and fun for spring and summer. So I did have to get the black infusible ink sheets, but I did have some of the turquoise left over from the infusible ink hat that I created. And so I decided that would be kind of a perfect color to add in the center of those daisies. In terms of the bracelets, I do use Stretch Magic jewelry cord to make my beaded bracelets. So that is something that I use to make the bracelets. And then, of course, the beads that I keep collecting as I'm going through all of the craft stores and I'm seeing them on clearance or I'm seeing them on sale. So that would be it in terms of specific materials outside, above and beyond those crafting corner materials that I have laying around. And I will put a complete list of all of the materials I used in this project on my blog post in case you're interested in checking it out. I'm going to go back to the first crafting project that I did this weekend, which is the Infusible ink design and the onto the smartwatch band. So I do want to shout out 2 resources that I used to do this project. And the first one is Jamila Payne, and she has a really quick, fast, and informative YouTube tutorial on using Cricut transfer sheets on a Sublimation blank smartphone watch. That was helpful for me. And the other one was a quick one by Crystal Ann. She also has a YouTube tutorial that I used in order to gather information when I was deciding what I wanted to do and how to do this project. And the thing that I found with these 2 tutorials and even some of the other ones that I came across as I was doing research for this project was that most of the designs and the Cricut Infusible ink smart watch band projects used the design that was on the transfer sheets, the Infusible ink transfer sheets. So for example, if it was a floral design on that Infusible ink transfer sheet, the project was done without using actually the Cricut cutting machine or your cutting machine. It really was used just by putting that Infusible ink transfer sheet onto that blank Sublimation watch band and adding heat with the heat press, which is really cool. That means you can do this project without a cutting machine and get a really great watch band at the end of it. So that's really fun. But what I wanted to do was a little bit different. So I used those resources, but then I went in a little bit of a different direction and decided to create my own design where I was going to actually have my cutting machine cut out the daisy flower outline to put onto my watch band with the Infusible ink transfer sheets. So the way that I chose to do this project took a little more time than the tutorials that I mentioned and I had watched, just because I wanted to do mine a little bit different. So let me talk to you about this experience. And I knew that my Sublimation blank was a bright white, and so I wanted to keep it simple. And so I decided to go into Cricut Design Space and find a simple daisy design. I did try a couple of different sizes, but I ended up going with just the daisy design simply down the middle of the watch band. I did kind of alternate the direction that those daisies were going. So they kind of flip-flopped back and forth. So they looked a little different as you're looking at the watch band. And I knew I wanted to do the outline of the daisies in black. That way, the white leaves petals would just automatically be part of the design from my Sublimation watch band blank. And then I wanted to add in a little pop of color on the inside of the daisies. And so this is where my project got a little bit complicated, but like I said, I did make a hat before using the Infusible ink transfer sheets. And so I did have a little bit of experience using 2 different colors, but this was a lot smaller of a design. So I did take the turquoise color of the Infusible ink to be that little pop of color on the inside of the daisies. And designing this was really easy. I did make 2 rectangle shapes that represented both sides of my watch band. So I measured out the watch band, created those rectangles, and then placed my daisy design onto those rectangles in order for Cricut to cut out the infusible ink transfer sheets. The cutting is easy. My design was small, but it wasn't too small that I had too much of a challenge removing the pieces of the designs that I didn't want. The weeding really, really worked well when I was using that method where you crack it with your fingers and really do most of the weeding with your fingers. That worked great for the daisies, but I did want that little center of the daisy to be that turquoise color. So I ended up having to cut out another set of the daisies to then take those tiny little round inside circles that were going to go into the black outline design. And I had to figure out a way to get them into the black daisy design before I put it onto the blank wristbands. And the reason that I wanted to do that, well, there's a couple. First of all, what I experienced when I've used infusible ink before is that really heating it one time at a consistent heat with the right amount of pressure really gives you the best outcome for the colors. So I did not want to have to heat up my design twice. I wanted it just to be one heating and done. So that's one of the reasons. And the other reason is something called ghosting, which is a term that I have heard used with the infusible ink when either you have an uneven temperature or you heat the material or the ink twice, or you use an uneven amount of either the transfer tape or the heat transfer tape that you use to keep on your design. So in order to avoid all of those situations, I did take the time to very carefully use some tweezers, take those tiny little round turquoise dots to put it onto the design that I had already weeded out, which is the black outline of the daisy. That took me the longest out of anything in this entire project. Once I got the 2 sides for each part of my watch band ready to go, the rest of the project was really easy. I did look up the heat instructions for this watch band sublimation blank, because when I looked at the Cricut Heat app and instructions, there was not a specific heat temperature listed for a watch sublimation blank that is like a faux leather, which I believe is what this sublimation blank is. So I did end up going back onto Amazon where I purchased the watch band and going to look up that specific product. And there in the description of the product, I found the exact heat and pressing time for this blank. And thankfully, it did work out great with the infusible ink. The temperature was 360, and I pressed it for 55 seconds. And I just lined up both sides of my watch band together, put on top of it the butcher paper that comes with the infusible ink sheets, put my Cricut Easy Press on top with the correct temperature and time and let it go. And I will say that I was nervous taking off the transfer tape when I was done heating it, because I was just so hopeful that all of the little details of the daisy and the little pop of color was going to come through, and it absolutely did. Like I said, it's a very simple design, but I love that. There's something about just having that black and white design with a little bit of pop of color in there that just really makes me happy, and it came out great. So after I completed my watch band, I had to put together the pieces to attach it to my smartwatch. And really, you get this fun little package. You get the two sides of the watch band in the package completely blank with no hardware or anything on it. But you do have to put it together at the end, and it doesn't come with instructions. So I went back onto Amazon again, where I bought it. And luckily, I found one of the pictures where they have the multiple pictures, kind of like the description of what you're buying. And one of those pictures had a little step-by-step instructions on it on how to put together the watch band to get it to fit onto your smartwatch. The hardware is a little bit wider than my Apple smartwatch, enough that it kind of bothers me because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist about that kind of stuff, but not enough that I won't be wearing the watch. So that took me probably about 5 minutes to put together my watch hardware so that I was able to attach the band to the smartwatch and wear it. So that's really cool. And I love it. I love how my band came out. I love that it is a different material than the silicone, just for a little bit of a different style and a different feel. It is more of a classic watch band hardware as opposed to the ones that I have on the silicone bands have kind of like a metal little prong that comes through and you slide it through. So I'm loving it so far. I will be interested to see how the white holds up. I definitely think when I do this project again, which I definitely will be making more watch bands, I'm going to add a little more color, see if I can make a bit of a different kind of design that covers more of the area, but I'm still going to try and create that design with my cutting machine, just because I really like the personalized custom look of that. Nobody else is going to have this watch band, and I kind of love that. So the second part of this crafting adventure are the beaded bracelets that I created to kind of accent my watch. I made 2 different sets. I always make my bracelets in sets of 3. I'm not sure why, but that's just kind of my style and what works for me. And so I did one set that used black and turquoise, different kinds of black and turquoise beads in different kinds of designs to really go with the watch band. And then I made another set of 3 that kind of have more of a pink and colorful look to them, because I do love how turquoise, black, and pink play off each other in terms of a color palette. It's one of my favorite color palettes. So I definitely will be mixing and matching all of my bracelets as I'm wearing my new watch band. But making these bracelets if you've never made them before, these are so fun to do. And one thing I love about them is that I tend to find myself up in my crafting corner quite a bit on the weekends. And just when I'm at home and I've got that extra downtime, it's kind of like my getaway is my crafting. But sometimes that probably goes on a little bit too much of my weekend. So these beaded bracelets, I can actually put on a tray and bring downstairs into the family room and create while my family's hanging out in the evening, watching The Voice or watching a movie. I can be creative and crafty while still being part of the family. So that's another reason why I really love making them. But the process is really simple. I do have kind of a bracelet board or organizer that has different sizes. And I use that to just plan out the colors that I want to put together. And it helps me know how big to make the bracelets. But just putting them on that stretchy cord and then tying the knots, I add a little dab of permanent glue on those knots and I'm done. So I actually was able to create some beautiful bracelets to go with my new, very fun spring, summer inspired watch band, and it was awesome. So my crafting keepers for this episode, I'm going to have to go with number one being that method of weeding the infusible ink. I think I talked about it before when I made my hat, but really all the different ways you can try and weed things. Your hands are the best way to weed the infusible ink. And it just really became apparent to me again as I was doing this crafting project. My design was a lot smaller, but I really did rely on just that cracking and using my fingers and the tweezers when I needed to get those tiny little details to come together or be removed. So that's my first crafting keeper. And my second one is actually for the beaded bracelets. And one thing that I just cannot live without when I'm making these bead bracelets is the Stretch Magic beaded bracelet and jewelry cord that I find at my local Michael's store. It just makes the bracelets strong but flexible. I am moving around a lot. I am a teacher. I'm working with kids. Things sometimes, get caught on things. And I just have had the best luck and ease of making my bracelets by using the Stretch Magic cord. So that's my second crafting keeper. My Satiscrafttion rating for this project is a 4.5. I love this project. I loved how fun it was to create a simple design in Cricut Design Space that was something that nobody else is going to have on their watch band. That was really fun. I loved watching the infusible ink when I peeled off the transfer paper and saw my design come out. That was super fun. It was pretty fast of a project. And the beading of the bracelets, like I just talked about, I'm definitely really into that right now. So it was meeting a lot of my crafting fun, needs and wants for the moment. And the reason I didn't give it a 5 is because of the watch hardware not fitting perfectly to my watch. It really bothers me. I'm wondering if there are different sizes out there. So definitely check that out if you're interested in making these watch bands or, coming up with different ways to create on these Sublimation blank watch bands. I just would keep an eye out for the hardware size if possible. But that's the only reason that it didn't get a 5. I will have my design that I used, my simple daisy design. I will make that public in Cricut Design Space. You will be able to find that link on my blog post if you're interested in making that design, or even taking my design and doing something more creative and adding to it. I'd love to see what you're making. So I hope this inspires you to make your own smartwatch band using Infusible ink, or even just trying crafting some beaded bracelets. Definitely is super relaxing and fun. And until our next crafting adventure, take care.
That's all for this episode of Weekend Crafting Adventures. Now go get that Cricut machine off the shelf and get crafty. For more information on this crafting project, interesting tips, tricks, and techniques, visit WCApodcast.com. Until next time, when we embark on another adventure.